Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Wind Down Wednesday. One second, I gotta mute that. I do that every week. It's like a slight delay. Welcome back. This is Michelle for Casa and Expat Life Mexico. Welcome back to my channel. This is Wind Down Wednesdays. I haven't really been drinking wine, but we're all welcome to have whatever it is you want to pour in your cup tonight. Thank you for joining us. If you've been here before, please be sure to like. And if you are here for the first time or you come back a few times to watch us, be sure to subscribe to our channel. I'm really excited this evening to have a conversation with Suniray. She is actually the new manager at Casa, and I just absolutely love her company. I love all the ladies that have been on board with the things that we're doing. Tonight, we just had the other day, really, we had conversations about tonight's topic, and we decided that we wanted to talk to the audience about it. I love her perspective. I love the things that she had to share with me, and we wanted to create this into an experience for you all. And I really appreciate her perspective on this particular subject and where we're going to go with it starting in tonight, and also continuing the conversation throughout the month of August, because it's a lot. And we're just going to start talking. And if you have questions, please, please, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Please let us know where you are checking in from. I will kind of go back and forth a little bit to see what your questions are. I'm missing something. So basically, if this is your first time, I have Casa in San Miguel de Allende, which is located in central Mexico. I've lived here for 5 years, and I love being an expat, immigrant, whatever you want to call me, in this amazing country. I love the life that I'm able to have here, but also the things that I'm able to contribute to the communities that need it. We offer basically a soft landing experience in San Miguel. We have our guest house. We also have a lot of online programs. We have a lot of packages that allow you to explore San Miguel. So if you have any questions about what we do, please go to Casa as you see it on my channel.com, and you can get more information there. So tonight we're going to jump right into it. I just want to welcome Miriam was first. Thank you for joining us. Divine Black Rose, I think that's what that means, the BLK. Welcome. Welcome, Kim. Kim is also a regular. Michelle, my bell is a regular. So I'm really excited to see you all. And Abril, hi. Abril as well. I am just excited to see you all. So feel free to jump in and ask questions. And without more talking, I'm going to let Suniray jump in and tell us a little bit about herself. She's an amazing person. I'm super happy that she is at Casa as our manager. We love and miss Brianna. She still works with me, but I'm happy to have additional great energy there as well. So good, your turn.
Greetings, peace and blessings, everyone. I'm so honored to be here, to be in the space. Thank you for having me. I feel like tonight is going to be a very interesting conversation. So a little bit about me. I am a yogi. I am a light worker. I'm an energy healer. I am also a conscious creatress. I am also a speech language pathologist, a humanitarian, you name it. I feel like I've lived several lives. This is actually a new chapter in my life. I'm turning over a new leaf here as well. And so I've spent a lot of time working with the community. That's where my heart is. No matter where I travel to, no matter where I land, no matter where my feet touches the soil. I'm in the community, and I'm doing some work with the women as far as healing and as far as unity and empowerment. And so this is what I'm about. This is what feeds my heart. This is my purpose here on this earth, is to bring harmony and unity to anyone that I'm connected to, anyone that I cross paths with. So that's just a little tidbit about me.
Love it. Love it. So thank you again for being here. And tonight we wanted to talk a little bit more about emotional decolonization. I know that comes up a bit. I have oftentimes people in the audience who ask us questions about gentrification and, you know, how we are a part of maybe not the positive side of moving and living in another country, right? I'm here, I live in Mexico, and it comes up quite a bit. And I think that there are so many perspectives and also aspects. It's not just one thing clumped together. And so tonight we wanted to just touch on that a little bit. So before we jump into it, I wanted to say welcome to Cheryl, our buddy from Houston. She said she's drinking your friend. Oh, she's drinking Michelle Watson's teas from Ingenuity. If you all don't know, Michelle Watson is Ingenuity and Spice, I believe, .com, or Ingenuity and Spice Company.com. We featured her a few times, so she's kind of our official sponsor of teas that are really beautiful and amazing at Casa. So welcome, Cheryl. Welcome, Profess LCH. Welcome, Monica from Mazatlan. Oh, yay. Now ending my visit to family. Okay, so you're heading back to Mazatlan, to Mexico soon. And welcome, my good friend, Caroline. Happy birthday. It's her birthday today. Let's ring some bells. Ching, ching, ching. Super excited. So without getting into anything else, we wanted to just kind of discuss emotional decolonization, why we think it ties into relocating and or wanting to relocate, or why that should be a consideration for people that are conditioned in the United States to be in this kind of frame of mind. And we were talking a little bit earlier about sometimes we don't know that we're so conditioned, right? We don't have maybe perspective. We just feel overwhelmed and out of balance. So we wanted to talk a little bit more and start to touch on not just the things that people want to know when it comes to relocating, which to me, it's like, okay, how much does it cost to live in this house? And how much does it cost for my utilities? And what would my insurance look like? All of those are very important. And there's lots of information on my channel about that. But we wanted to talk about the mindset and the things that we're either bringing with us, or maybe we should be aware of that we try to leave or deprogram. So I'll let Sunny jump in and take over. And if you all have questions, please put them in the chat.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we'll start with what is colonization? So by definition, colonization is the action or process of settling among and establishing control over the indigenous people of an area. So that is what has happened to us in the United States. We have lost our control. At some point we gave it up, and at some point it was taken from us. And so decolonization would be to take back that control. Decolonization of our emotions would be to take back control of our emotions. And so that brings up the question of how are our emotions tied into this? We are emotional beings. We are indigenous people. Everything is fueled by our emotions. Our emotions create our worlds, just as our words create our worlds. And so our ancestors experienced a lot of trauma and pain. And so all of that trauma and pain is in our DNA. It's inside of our DNA. And that's why we're so easily triggered by certain things. And sometimes we're not even conscious of it. but it's because of that trauma and pain that's in our DNA, that's been passed down by our ancestors. And so now what we're looking at is experiences that are tied to certain emotions.
Mhm.
So if you have an experience that happened to you or even your ancestor that's tied to the emotion of anger or guilt or fear or shame,
Mhm.
anytime a replica of that experience happens, that emotion is going to come up.
Mhm.
So in a sense, it's like you've lost control of how you feel or how you want to feel about a certain situation. Even though if you don't want to feel that way, sometimes it just happens anyway. It's programmed inside of your brain, it's programmed inside of your DNA. So how do we take back control of our emotions? So that means rewriting your story. That means going back to those experiences, which you can, going back to those experiences and rewriting your story and having a different outcome on who you are, on how you live your life and how you respond to new experiences. That means no longer responding to new experiences with the same old emotions that are
Mhm.
keeping us stuck. So that means getting unstuck. And so I think that's very important, especially when you're thinking about traveling to another country. You don't want to bring your same behaviors and your same emotions to a new place. You want to start new, you want to start fresh. And there are ways that you can prepare yourself for that move. So that's what we're here to talk about today. Like,
Right.
what are the things that need to happen in order for you to go to a new country as a new you, as an unstuck you, as an improved you, as someone who's now open and willing to receive all that life has to give her.
Right. And we were talking about just how sometimes people don't think about those things, right? And they go to a new place, they move to a new country, or even, they go on vacation. There's like that euphoric feeling of, oh, this was beautiful and amazing. And it is. Mexico for me is amazing. But I know that I'm going to be living in this place, and it can be really hard sometimes because of so many things, right? This week I put my newsletter out, and I'm also doing like kind of multiple topics about why it's challenging to move and live abroad. So I think it's important for people to not just rely on the financial, the money, the cost, and whatever, to start with, why do I want to go there?
Right.
What am I seeking? What's my impact when I get there?
Right.
And things like this. So I think there is a lot more work that should be done in regard to relocating. Again, I'm, all about helping people get their right resources and contacts. But I do think that in doing this work for the last couple of years, I've seen a lot of times when people weren't prepared for the psychology behind it. They weren't
Mentally,
prepared for,
right.
right, the emotions,
Right.
just, yeah, the things that you can only experience by experiencing them. You can't call someone and say, well, how much is it going to cost for my emotions to get adjusted to living in, Mexico? Because everyone has something different that they need to probably consider as a whole. And yes, the getting out, right? We all went the get out attitude, right? That's why you're here watching my channel, because it's like, let's move on. But what are your real individual reasons? I think that has to be a strong consideration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do feel like you can't just want to just get away, because whatever you're running from, you're running towards.
Right.
So it's like you can go to a new place, but this is what has to change. It's your heart. Your wound
Right.
space needs to heal. Once that changes, that's when you'll have a new experience. You know, otherwise you're going to keep experiencing the same things in a new place.
Mm-hmm. So what do you say in regard to the deprogramming process? I mean, what would that look like, you know, in a conversation even?
Okay. Well, I practice plant medicine, sacred plant medicine, and sacred ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And it has opened me up to worlds among worlds of possibility, of manifestation, of healing, of unity, of empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
It has helped me to remember. And that is the biggest piece. If you don't remember anything else I say, we have forgotten who we are. We have forgotten whose we are. And we have forgotten where we came from.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is one of the biggest things that the plant medicine has answered for me, all of those questions. Seems like simple questions, but they mean the most. When you really sit down and think about it. Like, where were you born? Where did you come from? Who are you? Whose are you? Those are very important questions, and they determine who you are as you move forward.
Mm-hmm.
As part of deprogramming, it's so much to deprogram. It's religion, it's which is to tie, by definition. It's fear mongering, which is all over the United States. And again, that's our emotions fuel everything. Your emotions, you create your emotions the way you create anything else. And there are certain people that know how strong our emotions are that will use our emotions to get a specific outcome that they desire. So that is something that's a part of the deprogramming, like dropping the veil and realizing where you are and what's going on. Like we have entered into a space where there's no reason for anyone to not know what's going on. We have too much access to technology, and everything is being revealed day after day, week after week, month after month. Things are being revealed, lies are being untold, and we're seeing this world for what it really is. So that is a part of the deprogramming, like being able to see that and accept it. Because I do realize it's hard for some people to accept what they see and what they hear as truth, because the programming is so deep. So realizing, okay, from the time that I was born, there has been someone that has been teaching me things and putting things into me and making me remember things, specific things that they wanted you to know. And so now we're in a space where you have access to everything. You're no longer limited to just what you've been taught, what you've been told to remember. You have access to everything now. So asking questions about everything, questioning everything is going to get you closer to reprogramming yourself now with truth, with facts, with evidence, with new experiences. And so, it's just, I feel like we have to realize that this is a system that's been built on our back, based on a lot of lies, a lot of fear mongering, and a lot of control. And so once you deprogram from that, then you're allowing yourself to receive new information, to create a new reality and a new world for yourself wherever you want to be. You're not stuck in one space. The world is yours. And so the sooner that you realize that, the sooner that you can start to really live and enjoy your life.
So what have been your experiences been with, because I feel like typically the demographic of people who want to move abroad are people who are ready to retire, right? It's changing a lot. There's definitely, the younger age bracket, the digital nomad, and that's a thing, right? Especially since the pandemic. But what has your experience been with an older demographic that's ready to pretty much they're almost retired, if not already retired, they're getting their pension. Have you had like experiences where it may have been, I'm leaving because of these reasons, but maybe there's still that deprogramming that needs to happen?
Right.
How do you work with things like this, or this kind of scenario?
Again, the healing piece is monumental, is everything. We hold everything in our wounds. And so you're not only holding your experiences, you're holding your mother's experiences, your grandmother's experiences. Every woman in your lineage that has passed through all of that pain and trauma is inside of your womb. And so I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you're the chosen one. If you're listening to this, it's your time. You have to heal for every woman in your family, for all of your ancestors. As you heal yourself, you heal your lineage, and you heal everyone that's going to come after you. And that could be daughter or son. That is your responsibility. You have the responsibility of healing that. And then, so no matter what age you are at, especially if you are in your golden years, as you heal your womb, like just you get to really enjoy your golden years. You get to really be who you are, and experience what freedom really looks like. Because I think that is something that we think we have, but we don't realize we don't. If you don't know what freedom is yet. And so with that being a goal, like this is something I want to attain. I want to know what freedom is, what it really feels like to be free. I guess that's definitely something that needs to happen.
So what would freedom be for you or look like? Just, for yourself and your own experiences, because you've traveled a lot, you've lived in a lot of different places, or not just in the United States, you've experienced probably a lot more than the average person in general. So what would that look like for you? Because you've kind of chosen, this is my path, right?
Absolutely. So it started with the medicine. The medicine allowed me to deprogram and to reprogram and to start to create my own story. Just be able to say to myself, Suniray, what do you want? What makes you happy? What is your passion? The thing that you can wake up and do every day tirelessly. And for me, that was yoga, that was meditation, and that was new experiences. And so that's why I chose this path. And so what freedom looks like now is that being able to create my world, be able to create my world no matter where I am, knowing that wherever I step my foot, that is sacred soil. It doesn't have to be a specific place. Anywhere that I land is sacred. And I'm going to create what I want in this space, in any space that I'm in. Knowing that you have that, tapping into your creativity and your authenticity, that's freedom. That's freedom for me. Knowing that that everybody that I encounter is my experience, is my reflection. So ultimately, every person and every experience in my life, I drew them towards me. Knowing that I drew these people and these experiences toward me for a reason, and life is going to teach me what that reason is. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not knowing yet, but finding out. I'm okay with seeing different reflections and different versions of myself and seeing the areas that I need to work on, but also seeing my growth. That gives me freedom. And knowing that there's no one dictating my life, there's no one telling me stories. I'm creating my own story now. I'm dictating my own life. So for me, that's freedom. So it doesn't come with a certain dollar amount. It doesn't come with a certain materialistic thing. I'm free. I can be anywhere and do anything. I can prosper anywhere. All my gifts and talents and abilities are inside of me as they're inside of you. You can prosper anywhere. Anywhere you place your foot, and you will be guided and protected by those who came before you. You have support.
Mhm.
So that's my truth, and that is my freedom.
Mhm. I think that's extremely relatable, especially for me. I'm sure for a lot of others. I do think that because, again, back to the demographic and the age ranges for people who maybe are just discovering these options, right? This movement that is fairly new, right? Let's call it 5 years of women and, YouTube providing space for people to share, where they are in the world, why they're there, how they got there, what they're doing. It's sort of a whole new thing, because I know that when I graduated from high school in the mid 80s, I'm dating myself, that corporate America was the thing that was pumped into, my mindset. It's like, work for this company, get your 401k, get your insurance, do this, do that, make this money, work for the next however many years and do that. Now, I'm not criticizing that because I know that's the way that a lot of people went because we didn't have all of these motivations right in front of us, all of these choices, all of these aha opportunities. But I think getting back to kind of giving people hope, right, to get unstuck, as you said earlier, and to see that this is not the way you have to remain. And it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter. It's sort of like I've had lots of, individuals, all kind of age ranges that have reached out to me and they're like, I'm 70 and I really want to, move abroad. And I'm like, well, if you're physically fit, like go for it. When I say physically fit, I'm meaning, San Miguel is just kind of like a very unfriendly city. And when it comes to mobility, but there are other places in Mexico and in the world. So it's sort of one of those things where I don't ever want to have it where it's like, oh, it's too late, right? I think if you really desire to do these things and you're just now seeing these opportunities, that you should explore them, and I think that that's also part of the deprogramming, right? Is, all right, don't feel like it's too late. Like I've seen several clients and others that have moved to San Miguel, and honestly, I see them every time they send me a photo of something they're doing, where they are, they just look younger, they look happier, they're enjoying themselves. They got their hair done, got their makeup on, they're traveling, and they're doing the things that maybe they felt before, oh, it's just me by myself, or I don't have any friends or whatever. It's like, get out there and not feel that kind of all is lost, or just kind of being stuck in a space where you think that's it for you, So I think that it's important to just kind of always be optimistic about what can happen, right? And just also recognizing that there's so much programming that sometimes we tend to say no before we give it a chance, before we give it the opportunity to be, oh, maybe, or there's a yes there somewhere. Yeah.
Ashe. I totally agree with that. As I was saying earlier, it may take years to break away from this colonization and programming and the duality that we have grown accustomed to. But if united we stand, we can open up spaces and time, throughout spaces and time, and be able to receive the energy of whatever we prefer. What can't we do if we're united? Who can stand against us if we come together? Seriously, it's like There's so much that we can accomplish together. And so I give that inspiration of hope to anyone in their golden years. You still have strength, you have tenacity, you have ambition, you have determination, you still have drive, and you still have your sisters who are waiting to connect with you. So, be open to creating new relationships and new friendships, and be open to being able to share what it is that you have inside that can add to the collective. You don't have to do this alone. You are not alone. So I think unity is everything. Coming into this space, knowing, okay, this time around, I know I can't do this by myself, and I don't want to, and I don't have to.
Right.
And, I know that I can have a tribe, I can have unity, I can have sisterhood. That is something that you're not doing in corporate America, but that is something that exists, that has always exists amongst indigenous people. And so taking that back, that's a part of taking your power back. So.
I love it. I want to say welcome to Lori, and thank you to Kim. She just gave us a super chat. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think Kim actually, let me see. She recently moved to San Miguel. I know she's been here off and on, and I think she's now here. So say congratulations.
Congratulations
on that. So in regard to steps people could take or start to consider, things to consider, it's not just like, I feel that there's the conversation, but the, active part of I'm making conscious efforts, or I am pursuing this because I do want to be a part. Like, I feel like there's more depth to just recognizing it. We were talking about getting, deeper into things in the month of August, but just kind of like moving away from being this kind of thought process of how we do things into a space where it's healthier for us. We're recognizing how we can take our power back, right? What does that look like? Steps for that?
Okay.
We're talking through this just so everyone knows.
So I'm an advocate again for plant medicine, for the sacred sacraments, for anything that comes from the earth. I am definitely all about doing what the ancestors did so we can do what the ancestors did. What did the ancestors do? They created civilizations. They built the pyramids. They left this earth when they wanted to. It was just, that's what the ancestors were able to do. They created everything. Everything that we believe is new is just a reinvention of the old. So this technology even that we're experiencing is not even new. Our ancestors had this and more. It's just coming back around again. So doing what the ancestors did so that we can do what the ancestors did. They had sacred ceremony. That was a part of their community. Once a week, they would have a sacred ceremony with the ayahuasca. And so that they would do that so that they can all connect as a community and see what's going on in the community and what needs needed to be met, what needed to happen, who needed to contribute. It was a community. And they used the plant medicine for that. So it wasn't just for healing, it was for connecting. It was for being able to create new inventions and new technology and to experience new worlds. It was for everything. So the steps toward that would be first deprogramming so that you can even say yes. Say yes would be number 2. Deprogram and then say yes. Say yes to you. I was saying this to a sister the other day, like, you have to be serious about you. You got to say, you got to for once and forever say, I'm putting me first. I'm serious about me. I'm not letting anybody stop me, hold me back, or lie to me, or use me for currency. I'm serious about me. I'm going to show up as that woman. I'm showing up as her, and I'm living my life for the rest of my life as her. So deprogramming, and then saying yes. And then 3, actually finding the support of a practitioner that is a guide that's going to lead and guide you through this experience. You know, someone that you can trust, someone who has experience, you know, someone who can show you that they qualify for the position. So, and then taking that leap to leave the country and come and experience this on indigenous land. Because I have experienced plant medicine in the United States, but I can say nothing has been more profound than experiencing it on indigenous land.
So have you encountered like the experience with local people that are, you know, of that particular country? What, like, talk about that a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. So,
And you know, I'm learning with the audience, as you already know. And so, you know, I'm always curious and open to things and new things because I live here. And I think, again, and I'll explain from my perspective, you know, it's and we talked about this a little bit. It's not to say it's the not knowing, it's the not having the education, not having the information, or whatever the case might be. So the point of that is, you know, coming with my perspective, because these are my experiences, this is my background. And then I think coming into and moving into Mexico, living in other places that were Central and South America, or traveling a lot in the past to places where I was just like, oh, there's a whole other, you know, way of thinking about things that come from the earth. So for me, it's kind of, again, that lack of knowing the history that I have growing up in the spaces that I've grown up in. But coming here and moving to Mexico, I feel like I've seen and I've experienced a lot more in terms of, you know, it's not just the straight and narrow way of living life. So I respect other people's viewpoints and experiences and perspectives. And, you know, that's pretty much what we're talking about here is, you know, educating people, because sometimes people have those questions, but they may be too programmed to ask. Right. Yeah.
So my experience with indigenous people on the land. That was actually what initially brought me to Mexico. I came here with about 20 other people. Y'all landed here. Well, we were deep. We landed in Oaxaca, Mexico, to basically connect with the Zapotecs and Mixtecs. And that's what we did. We went up to the mountains, San Jose, del Pacifico. And that's where, I mean, the entire town is so beautiful. It's inspired by art that has come out of the use of plant medicine. And it's absolutely beautiful. And we got a chance to sit with the elders, speak with them, to buy sacred sacraments from them that they picked from their front yard, and they brought to the stores and they sell it to us. So we got a chance to experience, what did they call it? The Buddha medicine, I think they called it. But yes, I had experience with staying with them, staying at their cabins, sitting and eating with them. One of my friends actually bought some land up there as well. So we really connected with them as far as the plant medicine is concerned. And then bringing new things to them too, because we were studying alchemy. and different healing modalities from all different types of plants. So we were able to bring that to the community as well. So it was definitely reciprocal. And they look like us. They look just like us. They are us.
Yeah.
And as long as you come in you're respectful of their land and of their tradition and their culture, you don't really have a problem at all. They want to share with you, you know. So I've had a really good experience with the people of the land in Mexico, and specifically in Oaxaca. So I'm definitely curious and anticipating just connecting with some of the locals here as well. I think it's so important to connect with the locals. You have to. You don't want to come here with the mindset of like taking from them. You want to come here with the mindset of actually giving and helping, like being able to give them employment or jobs, offering more jobs and employment to them, being able to bring more money to the land and to help the land, prosper.
That makes a lot of sense. So looking for, I wrote some questions. 1 second.
Any questions?
Yeah, does anyone have questions? I want to say welcome to Danielle. She's in Querétaro, and no worries, she's drinking wine. Yeah, she's drinking some wine. I'm drinking water, sparkling water and lime. So exciting. So I think, back to just kind of like the emotional decolonization, we touched a lot on that and our viewpoints about it and why it's important, but also when you're choosing to, move away from maybe decades and decades of what this is what what kind of things would, people kind of need to start to consider or to think about. We talked about in the relocation process, the psyche behind why am I leaving this place? Because I do think that, a few weeks ago, we were talking to a couple of the Black men that live here in San Miguel and their experiences. And I get this a lot, probably more so from Black males is, I am all like, I don't feel the way I felt, and I think that has a lot to do with like a lot of the traumas that we see, and we've seen a lot more of that over the years. Unfortunately, it's not subsided. It's actually gotten worse. But I also think it's that I'm running away again from the fear of living in the United States. If you recognize that. So when you're making this choice to go somewhere else, it's kind of what else to think about, not just, again, running away from the fear for my life, because that's also extremely important. That was one of my reasons for leaving with my child. But there's also, the concern about, okay, when I get to this new place, what things should people kind of like consider in terms of really deprogramming their thoughts and their emotions and their reasons for coming here.
So what is the question exactly?
Just kind of like some of the things to really think about and to consider when making that move. Not just, like I said, I know there's a lot based on like the financials and all those other things, but what else to think about in terms of not just the fear factor, like what else is there to consider if you decide, I really want to live here, and not bringing maybe some of those things with us, because I do think we come and we have onion layers that we have to shed, right? I've encountered that with the, people that I work with. It's kind of like, oh, well, the perceptions that we might have about how we're being viewed or looked at, and we're bringing these things with us. So just kind of like deprogramming, what things can we consider or think about before maybe coming, or once we get here, just kind of being maybe more open to these experiences?
Yeah, for me, I kind of, I thought about regulating my nervous system. So I think that you want to go to a place where you can find some peace, for sure, where there's a slower pace. I do believe that in the United States, there's a lot of hustle and bustle. Everything is moving so fast. Even myself, when I go back to visit family, I find myself just like having so much anxiety and stress. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that I went to a place that has slower pace, where I can really experience some peace and really have more time for myself to heal, to grow, to make new girlfriends, to do all the things, That's something to definitely think about. And also, who are you? I think that if you don't have the answer to that question, it's okay, but you should definitely be seeking it, the answer to it, if you don't know. Who are you? What skills and abilities and talents did you come to this earth with that you didn't have to go to school to learn? How can you share that with the world? What is your purpose? And I think answering those questions will lead you to the right space.
I agree. I think that we all have some natural talents. And I say that plural because I've seen it, even for just my own personal experiences. There were some things that I always this was what I liked to do when I was a child. And, I did them. And then again, the program, as I got older, it's like, oh no, get the corporate job. And I was more of a creative, but not maybe knowing. I'm sure I had the opportunities, but not knowing this is the path that I should go down. This is what, and I still feel that way. I still sometimes think like, if I had. So I think even coming here, for myself, it was sort of one of those things where it can be like overwhelming, a little bit scary, because, I jumped in, but it's just like feeling that fear of, okay, what am I going to do there? Right. And I think if you're opening yourself to what does that look like? Again, even if you worked all these years doing some stuff you didn't love, or you did, and, but you have other things that are of interest to you, is feeling this to be more of an opportunity to express yourself and your natural things through that. Really grasping at, okay, what is it that I love, right? What am I, an artist? Am I a sculptor? Do I even know? Do I want to learn an instrument? Do I want to sing? I met someone recently when we did our concert back in June. And, she had a different path, not to say she didn't love it. I don't know. But she just recently decided, I'll say just recently, but she self-produced an album, Dr. Jackie Bouvier, and she is singing now, and she's like, let's do concerts in San Miguel. I keep meeting like just these amazing individuals that are showing the world their talents. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I tell people this, like, I've had, clients who are like, well, what should I do? What could I do when I get there? And I'm like, what do you like to do?
Right.
What feels good to you, right? Whatever that is. Do you want to do hair? Do you want to paint? Do you want to travel? Do you want to, I don't know. Do you want to sing? Do you want to create something? Do you want to teach? What do you want to do? Right? Now's your chance to express that and bring that talent here in a selfless way. I think being selfless, adding to the space we live in. I just feel like overall, we are and will always be the most displaced people So home is where you make it, right? Home is where you make it. Yeah.
Sure. And I agree with that, like your self-expression. We are all creators. You're all creating something, whether it's music, whether it's pottery, whether it's a beautiful garden, whether it's art, like we are all creative. We all have that creative energy inside of us.
Exactly.
So for me, leaving the United States allowed me the time and space to tap into my creativity deeper, harder. It just, I couldn't do that in the States. You know, it's like I was in corporate America for about 10 years. And it was just like, you go to work, come home, you're so tired, and now all you want to do is go to sleep. And then you get back up and you do the same thing all over again. And then all day long, you're talking about work. So it's like you're talking about work, you're going to work, you're going to sleep, and doing the same thing all over again, talking about work, going to sleep. It becomes just like a repetitive, never-ending rat race, a never-ending cycle. You know, but I feel like the people that are the wealthiest, and I don't mean just by money, the people that are the wealthiest in the world don't spend their time talking about work. They talking about their dreams and what they want to do next, what they want to experience, where they're going to go. They're talking about all the beautiful things in life that we get a chance to have in this human experience. And so I just tap into your creativity, you know, no matter what it is. If it's something that you wanted to do, go do it. Come here and do it. If you can't find time there, tell your job, I quit. No, I'm just playing.
No, you're not. You're not. Quit. We're not telling you to quit. Make a plan. But if you want to quit, go for it. We support. But, you know, I mean, and I want to talk about that just a little bit. But I wanted to welcome Ramon. He said he'd like to know where in Oaxaca you were. You can explain that. And he said we were doing a mission trip, or they are planning, I guess, to do a mission trip in August, maybe to Oaxaca. At the moment, wife and I are in Mazatlan. And Michelle had a question, or a comment. We will talk about that when you talk about Oaxaca.
Yes, Oaxaca, San Jose del Pacifico, up in the mountains, is considered Mushroom Mountain. And then
see, I didn't know that.
Everything made of mushrooms. It's absolutely beautiful. The napkins, the chairs, the doors.
Oh, really? Interesting. How far in the mountains? Because you were also on the coast.
Yes,
in Puerto Escondido. How far was it for you to get up there?
It's about 4 hours on the van. It goes up the mountain, literally up the mountain.
I know. I've driven all the windy roads to Oaxaca.
An experience. So even on the coast, the Polite is basically like mushroom town as well. You'll see a lot of hippies are attracted there. Because it's just the laws are very lenient. It's a nude beach. You can really, really express yourself there. So Polite, Puerto Escondido, Mazunte, San Agustinillo, all of those. Like that was my home for a while.
I love it. Yeah, I've been there many times. I wasn't nude on the beach, but I've been there, and I'm not opposed to that. At least not that beach. But you know, it's definitely a very laid back, chill place. I started going to that part of Mexico probably in 2016. No. Oh my God. Okay. So I came to San Miguel in 2005. So I think it was 2007, around 2007. Long time ago. It was very different. And I was there last year. I drove from pretty much the kind of Puerto Angel, Hualtuco area over to Puerto Escondido because I was trying to do one of those bioluminescent tours.
Oh, yes.
Huge disappointment. At least none of it looked like the pictures that I saw online. But it was still cool. I did like a sunset thing with my mom and Micah and a friend.
Yes.
It was really beautiful. Yeah, the birds and the beach.
Puerto Escondido stole my heart with their sunsets. I mean, beautiful. I try not to miss it. Their sunset absolutely beautiful.
Yes, beautiful. I have to say though that I love the sunsets as well in Mazatlan. Just like really phenomenal there as well. But yeah, it's a very interesting area, but I haven't been to that part that you mentioned in Oaxaca. I've been to Oaxaca City, but not in the mountains that I can remember. I would have remembered the mushroom chairs.
Oh yeah.
I'm very visual. So, okay. I feel like I was supposed to say something else about that, and I can't remember now.
Oh.
I don't remember. Anyway, Michelle said, I think people need to be aware that it's going to take time to heal from all of the emotional trauma, yes, that we endured for centuries. Wholeheartedly agree with that. Again, my experiences in coming to Mexico really helped me just ease into it. It felt right, if that makes sense. And since I've been here, like I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of days ago about when I started this channel, and the purpose and reasons was just really to feature life and those who have followed me for a while from my lens, right? I just wanted people to see life from my lens, people to see that there doesn't need to be this excessive amount of fear about visiting or coming to Mexico. We all need to be careful wherever we go in the world, especially this is so in line with talking about deprogramming, that we have this false sense of security in this country that, we're from, where we grew up, or I should say not from,
everything from you.
And, again, I try not to knock, the US per se, because it's for some, it's for a lot, and it's for a lot of people, and I get it. It's, the glam, the glitz, a lot of things, right? And that's okay. If that's your speed, that's also okay, right? But I also think for those who want to leave, there's a lot of pushback from the ones who don't understand it. And I think sometimes you have to find your people, you have to find your tribe that supports that like-minded thinking, which is here. And a lot of other, women that are bringing that to the forefront. Like, it's okay if you choose to do something that others don't agree with and don't consent to, or whatever, right? You have to say, you know what, that makes sense to me, right? I have always been Rolling Stone mentality. I don't know where, I probably got it from my dad. My dad's also Rolling Stone, it's like over here, there. When I was little, we drive to Canada, we would drive to like all these states in the US, and I just found it extremely fascinating. But I also remember, even as a child, going back to school and talking about going places, and most of the folks I spoke to were just where they were, right? They had never left the Connecticut ever, maybe not even the town that they lived in. And I couldn't fathom this. I always feel like, oh my God, I always felt the need I want to get out of here. I get that way. I want to go see something. I want to do something different. So the point simply is for those that feel this way, is entertain and support your needs, right? Fulfill your needs, because it's important for you to, kind of grow into the person that maybe you need to be, right? And the things that you need to experience. So that's a part of, for me, like the whole programming, deprogramming, reprogramming process of just kind of, doing what makes you feel good, and not having this false sense of security that the United States has kind of given us. Because I know I used to always feel like big bad United States, nobody's going to mess with us. As a child, did you see it? Everything is about us winning, right? And the superheroes and the Rambos and the whole, you name it. Everything was always about us winning, us winning, us winning. And when I started to travel, I realized that we were in a bubble, right? We were in a mental bubble, because I would hear people say, oh, the US has their own version of the news, of the narrative, of the information, you didn't hear about the other issues in other places that were more accurate, right? Like, this is the more accurate account of whatever it is that I might have seen over in the US. And I remember initially just thinking, like, no, that can't be, because we're so like, this is what we are used to. And so, in saying all of that, is after traveling and going to so many places, I started to realize, like, of course, there are different viewpoints out there. I'm not saying ours is completely wrong. All I'm saying is that the narrative was very different. It's like I started to kind of have the veil and the onion layers coming off, where I'm now, through travel, I'm deprogramming, right? I am seeing other places that I had a genuine fear of. I had a genuine fear of going to Jamaica. This is where my parents are from, right? And just like, what is it like? I don't know. I just remember feeling fearful and always wanting to be close to someone that was from Jamaica. Like, I have to have somebody to show me around, whatever. I have to, like, always travel with whatever. And little by little, moving around, of course, still moving smart, I started to realize, I am just fearful because that's what's been put in me, to be afraid to be anywhere outside of my little hometown. And yeah, it takes time to kind of get rid of all of that and that weight, So yes, trauma. Welcome, Miss Kay Bates. Yes, and everyone coming from Querétaro. It's fine that you're late, and thank you for being here. I'm glad that you love the content. Cheryl said, I like when you get to that place, your mind slows down, expands, and shows your deepest passions. Absolutely. Decluttering all the areas. Yes.
Hi, Cheryl. I love Cheryl.
Me too. She was a great guest. So, yeah, I agree. Decluttering, period, right? We could talk about that for a while. Just the things that we think we need, right? And we need to spend all our money on. And that's what keeps, go ahead.
You realize that your possessions actually possess you.
Yes. Yes.
The deprogramming right there.
Yeah.
It's holding on to so much. And it starts to possess you now, because you think you're holding on to it, but it's actually got you trapped.
Absolutely.
And a part of that deprogramming is that it's cleaning out your closet space. I had to start with my clothing alone. Just had to, like, the things I wasn't wearing, I had to turn the hanger around. And if a month or two went by and I'm like, I still didn't touch that, or a whole season, a whole year, I didn't touch that, gotta go. Let's go. Yes. Let's start cleaning that out. But just finding ways to lighten your load, lighten the weight that you're carrying is so important. Like you were saying, I think you said to me, you said, I wanted to just pack 2 bags and go.
Yeah.
But
2 suitcases and a ticket, plane ticket.
That's how you have to be able to move like that. I do feel like that's a part of entering into this new world that we're creating, in this new mindset, is deprogramming from that, from possessing so much. In the United States, that's what we're taught. You have to get a car, and you have to get houses, and you have to buy property. You have to possess all these things. And these are the things that keep you trapped. These are the things that keep you in the system. These are the things that keep you waking up on Monday morning and going to work.
Absolutely.
The deprogramming is that, realizing that and saying, oh, let me take that off.
Right.
Light. Let me remove some things so I can be free.
Absolutely. And I think one of the points that I was trying to remember earlier was about when I worked, and this was so long ago, in my corporate job where I started, and thinking this is the way to go, because those were the examples that I had around me. I thought it was such a big deal to work at an insurance company, right? And I was so much younger. And I think because of where my parents came from, being immigrants from Jamaica, going to Canada and then to the United States, and, just kind of seeing that they had work that was maybe like more of a blue collar thing, to me thinking, go work for corporate America, right? I have insurance and I have this and I have a 401, all these things. And, just kind of carrying this as the tell-all, right, to my future, right? And really striving for, I'm climbing the ladder. But looking back, I feel that I wasn't always suited for this kind of thing anyway. I was always kind of rebellious. I didn't like people really telling me what to do. And I would be like, I could be a better boss than that. They don't know what they're talking about. Not to say I was correct, but the point is that I had other talents that I smothered because I thought this was the way to go. And I was going to school. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with getting degree. We don't say we all have it, but we have our degrees. But it was such a tizzy for me, because one, I think a lot of times, coming from maybe a background where if your parents didn't have a college degree, they were workers, and you now are pursuing that, you don't necessarily have the mentorship to help you figure out, well, let me pursue what feels good to me. Or maybe your parents do have a degree and they're pushing their kids down the path that they went because they're like, this is the way it needs to be. I know I hear that a lot as well. There are a lot of people, I got my degree because this is what my parents wanted me to do, but I really wanted to do this, so I think it's important for anyone who's a parent, or for anyone who is a mentor or an advisor, to really be supportive of what others desire, right? And giving them sound. I mean, doesn't mean you just go along with any old frivolous thing, but meaning, I feel that we are entering this day and age where we have to recognize our gifts. And if there's a way for us to grow with that gift and give back, that it's going to be so much more than some of the other things that we're probably doing and pursuing. I never liked working in corporate, and I worked in corporate for a really, really long time. And I left in 2002, and I never looked back. I didn't even care what I did for work. I was just like, I'm not doing that anymore. Yeah. I don't want this anymore. And I just didn't feel great at it. I think I had one job that I can think of that I liked the most. And it was very creative for me, coming from kind of like the insurance things. And I just really enjoyed that a lot. And I realized, I'm better at being an entrepreneur, and this is my thing. And it's not always easy, but it definitely is something that makes me want to get up in the morning and do what I have to do and go to bed at midnight and work hard and just keep pushing through and keep, creating. And I'm very grateful for it. I am very grateful for that epiphany, that light bulb a long time ago. When I left, I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm out.
Absolutely. I just, I took my hat to you too, for just being able to create a space where women can come and heal, where women can come and reconnect with their ancestors. You are creating a space that can heal not only just this generation, but lineages, like where it's absolutely amazing. Like, women are going to be able to come here and heal and start new lives. Like, you're impacting the entire world. What you're doing is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
You're going to be blessed for it. You're going to be taken care of. I'm like, you good.
Oh, thank you.
You're going to be taken care of. Nothing is ever going to, because you're creating a space for what needs to be done. You're living in your purpose. And you're just going to change so many people's lives. So I'm grateful for you, definitely.
Thank you. Likewise. I always say I'm grateful for all of you. You know, I'm grateful for everyone that has passed through this space. I think, you know, I have lots of conversations about how it all came together. And although it's definitely a purpose that I didn't necessarily have a clear direction for, I just had faith. I had faith in the reasons why I was led in this direction, you know. And you and I were talking a couple of days ago, and I said how I literally walked through the house and put my hands on the walls and just like, speak to me. What is this space going to be here for? And instead of trying to force things, I just let things happen, and they did, you know, they have, and they're still happening. So I'm always grateful for that. And I'm grateful for everyone that puts their faith and trust. You know, we're not perfect. We are working our kinks out on a regular, you know, but I think the joy that we try to pass on to people, the energy that we try to pass on, and the experiences that we try to pass on, it's really one of the things that I think is our strong point. You know, it's like you're not just on your own. We're like, come on in. It's like it's like going to a family house. It's
right.
You know, come to hang out with the family, right? Let's have some drinks. Let's talk. Let's have tea. Let's hang out on the couch. And you know, it creates that sisterhood, that familyhood, the, you know, communion and community that we need to have. And I think that we've gotten a lot away from, because we're so like, we want to be separate. We want to be in Airbnb. I don't know that person. It's like, okay, come and get to know these people, right? Come to get to this. Yeah, come and get to know the space, you know, be blessed by it and bring it. So
absolutely. You've created a space of non-judgment, but rather of compassion for us to come and to, you know, really experience each other like in our fullness. I feel that, oh my gosh, every time I used to leave the country with someone and go spend a week or two out there, it was like I got to know them on a different level. It was like I got to know them so intimately. Because I could really spend time with them without having something to do every minute.
Right.
That's what you experience here.
It's like you said earlier, slow down.
Right.
Slowing down. And I think that travel should allow you to, not everything, but a lot of travel should allow you to slow down and be in that space and that time, that be present, right? Not just what we normally are doing, possibly just running around all the time, making ourselves crazy.
I wanted to touch on what you were saying about the false sense of security really quickly, because I do believe that that is something that we do have in the United States. The security of knowing I'm going to get a check every 2 weeks, you know, that check is coming in, and you get safe in that, and you don't want to, anything else just seems like too risky or, you know, just unstable. It really is a false sense of security, because at any time, someone else can stop that. Someone else can cut that off, and you're no longer on that wheel anymore. You're no longer waiting for someone else to feed you.
Right.
That's essentially what it is. Like you're waiting for someone to feed you. And it is a false sense of security. So, and we can get into so much about the United States and entities and the birth certificates, and that's a whole nother conversation.
Uh-oh. I don't know about that one either.
Sovereignty, you know, like really running your sovereign walk. What does that look like for you? I think that's something to think about, as you asked me earlier when you're leaving here. What does your sovereign walk look like? Like, how do you take back control so that no one else is feeding you, you know, but you? Like you're the one. You don't have to wait for someone else to give you anything.
Right.
Like if you want something, you go get it.
Right.
If you want something, you make it happen.
Exactly.
Well, how do you get to that space of sovereignty, of owning yourself and owning your children? You know, and growing your food, you know, like really not having to depend on the government
Mm-hmm.
for anything, because like I said, at any time they can cut you off. And so I believe that here in these other countries, you're able to really walk in your sovereignty. You're able to take that back. You're able to make your own clothes, grow your own food, get your own currency, barter, decide what that looks like for you. Just really creating a new life.
Right. And, you know, I wanted to, so I'm having all these thoughts, like I wanted to comment because my friend, it's her birthday today, Caroline again, she made a comment. She said up to a little over a year ago, she would have never considered visiting, much less moving to Mexico, because she was very fearful. And now she lives in Mexico. Mexico's her home, and she has no plans to leave, you know. And she and I talk a lot, you know. So it's like she's my client, stayed at Casa, and now she's like a very good friend of mine. And, you know, one of the things that we talk about in relation to what you were just saying is living here and not being, you know, a social security receiver and a pensioner, or someone, you know, who has savings and wealthy, whatever. You can feel very vulnerable, right? But tying back into owning that walk that you're walking is you know, it's not easy all the time, but you can push yourself towards the thing that you know how to do, and you can make it. You know, you have to keep trying. You have to keep putting that one foot in front of the other. And I think there are a lot more options and choices than we realize, because again, we're so programmed to thinking, let's work in this capacity and let's have, you know, someone give us stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that either, right? Because if you have a special skill set that you studied or that's your expertise, and that's what you enjoy doing, or that's what that you want to do, or whatever it is, or you need to do, you know, I know that this conversation isn't frivolous. It's not, okay, you know, why are you doing that work? Or what? No, it's just to say that we all have these paths that we have to choose. And sometimes choosing to walk down a different path can be scary. Moving to a new country can be scary, can be overwhelming. It can be, how do I make it? I do think being in a tenacious mindset definitely helps you. And also being in a mindset that, you know what, I have it within me. I need to figure out what that looks like. Does it happen overnight? No. Do you have to keep kind of maybe digging deeper? Yes. Sometimes you have to do that. But I do think that we are in a day and age where we're capable of, you know, discovery. And what does that look like? You know, I remember working for so many years in a corporate job, and always having this thing in the back of my mind of being afraid of being fired, let go, laid off, or whatever, right? Always. Yes. 1 week to the next, I could have a job in 2 weeks from. I mean, I have so many people that have had these experiences, you know, where it's like, okay, I'm working for the man, but I could still like not have this, you know, so-called every 2 weeks, or, you know, whatever, paycheck, 15th and the last day of the month. And, you know, that also was very stressful and scary. And I kind of feel like when I started working in a non-corporate situation, I remember thinking like, oh, I'm okay, right? I'm doing it, right? And it was that I didn't know all the time what my income was going to be. I didn't always know. But when I sat down and thought about it, it's like, okay, you know what? I actually have more quality of life. My particular situation, I'm not talking about everyone, but that particular situation turned into me really being able to assess for a good 6 years. I have more quality of life, and I'm still making good money. And I have a lot more time for myself, which gave me a lot of time to think about my talents. What else do I want to do? And I started to create. I was like, I like to do this. I like decorating houses. And I literally I'm an interior decorator because it was always a natural thing for me. As a child, I would redecorate my parents' house. I'm talking moving couches and sofas, and they would let me do it. And when I was pregnant, I was just like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And I did. I put my portfolio together and I put it out there, and it was always a natural thing. So the point is that you can discover what those things are, but you got to give yourself the time to sit down and think, I'm not going to be stuck in this. I am going to, sit here and be like, okay, what am I good at? I know I like to bring people together. I like to create community. That's also something I enjoy. And how can I just be open to what might be just right here, but you got to receive it, you got to be open to it. So I just wanted to kind of elaborate on that I always thought corporate was it, but I was always fearful of working for corporate because I always felt like I'd get fired, because honestly, I didn't care about that corporate job and all the nonsense they had to talk about in those boring meetings. I'd be like, what am I doing at lunch? What can I do today?
Right.
Let me get my nails done. Let me do all this stuff so I don't have to do it on the weekend. So I have the whole weekend to myself. I used to hate it. Yes.
I thought it was everything. It's just disappointing as an adult, to find out that, we were put into the system, into school, because they were training us to work. And that's where we have been for the last 3-4 decades. It's been us working.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't been taught how anything is made, from the simplest things as your toaster, your microwave. We don't know how to make those things.
Yeah.
Just given these things for more convenience so we can get the work done.
Right.
So that's what we have become. We've just become workers in those states, and that's what we were trained, like in school. It was all about remembering what they put into your mind. The people with the best memories did the best in school. And so it's all about that, programming you and putting you out into the workforce. And it was very disappointing to find that out. Now, I'm not saying, like you said earlier, you was like, if you have a skill and you get paid for it, go for it. Yes, if you have a skill and they are paying you buco money for it, get it. Get your money, but have a strategy. Have a plan.
Yes.
Become sovereign at some point, because you still don't want someone else feeding you.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's what I definitely feel like. Have a way out. Knowing that this is where I'm going, this is where I'm going to land at the end of this. This is not forever.
Absolutely. Even I think moving abroad hasn't really looked like a variety of people, right? It's been this thing that felt it's not for me per se, because I don't see me in these spaces. I remember traveling even in the 90s, mid 90s, to wherever, to countries in Europe, and just, people like shocked to see me in these spaces. And I'm like, what's the big deal in my mind? But as I, kind of continued to move around and visit spaces and places in Central, South America, Asia, Europe, wherever, it was always kind of me realizing that it wasn't normalized. And growing up, I didn't see that often. I know my dad traveled a lot, but it wasn't something that was a norm. I remember talking to people, and people would say things to me that I felt were quite derogatory, like, oh, that's not for us, that's for, these people. And I'm like, no, why? Like, no, it's not. That's ridiculous. Why would you think that? If I can afford to buy a plane ticket, I'm getting on the plane, right? And I remember my joy when social media became, kind of that thing to globalize and to show us in spaces that I had personally not seen in this capacity. And I just remember being so like, wow, I've been doing this since 1996, not that long, meaning I traveled a lot as a child, but we mostly did like Canada, parts of the US, and, maybe a little bit Jamaica. But, in like the mid 90s was when I was just like, okay, I want to go international. And I didn't see this because it was, that it wasn't logging online and seeing all of these things. And once I started to see those things, fast forwarding to just like a few years before moving here, I just remember feeling so happy and excited, you know, a lot of younger faces. And I thought, this is so beautiful, you know. I'm glad that people are getting outside of what seemed like the norm, you know. It's a shift, and I'm really
Absolutely.
happy to be a part of that too, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel that our parents and our parents' parents, you know, the narrative was pretty much dictated for them. They lived in fear. They wanted to they wanted to stay alive, and they wanted to keep us alive. And that
Absolutely.
influenced all of their decisions on where they worked, the God they worshiped, everything. There's like,
Exactly.
you know, it's like, we need to stay alive. we need to fit into this.
Exactly.
We need to get along with these people. We need, you know, and we need to make money so we can feed you. So it was all about survival. And then we're moving into a space where I feel that we don't need to be in survival mode anymore.
Right. Exactly. We have options to survive the way we want to, right? It's and as I said earlier, doesn't mean it's always easy, you know. You know, I always I don't want to glamorize Mexico and life in Mexico, because it has its challenges. The locals have challenges that I may never know, right? I may never be privy to these things, because I'm coming from where I come from, and I'm also coming with the challenges that I have to face of being in a new country. But I always say I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful that I'm able to be a resident and a legal resident in this country, right? It's way harder for a Mexican to be a legal resident in the United States. So I'm grateful that I have that, you know, and maybe I have it easier because, yes, I have a US passport, or I'm a US citizen and a Canadian citizen. But my whole thing is that it doesn't feel like, you know, I've been to places where I just like, I wouldn't fit in here, even if I was legal here. I had, you know, the option a long time ago of legally being a citizen in a European country. And I just never wanted to be there, because I just like, I don't think I would feel ever welcomed here. And I do feel welcomed here in this country. Now, does that mean every person loves me living here? No, probably not. You know, I'm sure all of us, we carry these things that make us feel the way we feel for whatever the reasons are. But I'm just happy that I can be here, and I'm happy to share these experiences. I'm happy to have a space that I really truly consider a soft landing for so many people that want out, have wanted out, you know. So you know, I'm going to comment again, because I have a lot of comments. My friend was just saying, like, some of us needed you to help us, and I'm absolutely grateful that you all feel this way, because it's been really my pleasure to create this space. Let's see, Danielle, I'm going to go up a little. It's been a while. Something that I have struggled with is accepting the influence that US culture has in a lot of places, when I just thought I could reject it all. When I got here, maybe she means here, some US things are Mexican/global as well. And I agree with that. You know, I think there's a lot of influence, American influence around the world, right? Through music, the way we dress, clothes, reality TV, I think, is a big part of it. Social media. I don't think we can fully get away from that, because I know sometimes if I open like Yahoo and it comes up first in Espanol, and if I switch it to the US version, or I'm trying to get into my Yahoo Mail and I see things, you know, there's always kind of like, there's news, but then there's like, you know, I'm just going to say the Kardashian type things. And I'm just, you know, like the clickbait things. And it's here as well, right? Even though it's probably something we're more prevalent where we see it more on a US page or whatever, but we also, it influences everywhere. And I think it's hard to shut it out and down 100%. When I first moved here, Trump was still in office, and I was just annoyed to know. I was just like, I don't want to, I'm not here to talk about politics or anything, but I just didn't want to hear about anything about the United States. Nothing at all. And so I, took myself off of all things connected, news related things connected. I just left all those things so that nothing came up and showed up in my feed and whatever. And it was like I was just being tormented. Like, it's hard to get away is the point. You can't fully get away sometimes from it, unfortunately, here or anywhere else, I think, in the world.
Yeah, I want to also comment on that quickly. I believe that we have had the biggest influence on American culture. We have influenced the music, we've influenced the clothing, we've influenced the food. The US culture is based on cultures from all around the world, because the Caucasian people that run that world don't have a culture. So they have adapted all of our cultures and brought it into one space. So when you do travel, I do come here and I say, oh, wow, like, I don't want to see a cafe or a Starbucks. Sometimes I say that to myself, like, I just want to be in.
I don't want that caramel macchiato, even though it's really yummy.
But at the same time, like, there is always still culture to be sought after. There's always a tribe, and every place that you go to, they are there. You just have to want to and interact with them and attract them and even seek them yourself. But they are always there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's my 2 cents.
So Ms. K. Bates said, unplugging from the machine has given her more understanding and peace. And yes, to speak the truth of power, right? Snap, snap. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I just think it's such a nice feeling when for me, it's both. It's a great feeling. It's also kind of scary sometimes, it's like, oh, I'm here, I don't understand everything, I don't understand all the laws. Even having a business, like, there are lots of challenges. I had my attorney on, like, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I was trying to, like, have him give insight on just kind of how things work. It's very different. And coming from the US, where I think you can get a lot of things you need to know online, and it's pretty standardized. And here it's just not, right? It's kind of depending on who you ask, depending on their understanding of that. But I feel like overall, it's just been really a blessing, and sometimes I just kind of think, like, I'm 5 years later, I still pinch myself. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I was in Mexico, especially when I get to see and do things that are new. And Lord knows there's so many new things to do in my backyard. For those who follow me, I went to Querétaro like a week ago, and Querétaro's the next state over. You hear me talk about Querétaro, this is a city, but it's also a state. And I went to a place called Pinal de Amoles, and I was just blown away. I was just like, look at this, like, God's creation. It was just so beautiful there, being able to see this unexpected, spectacular, view, El Mirador, and just all these cool things. And I'm still kind of like, wow, I just can't believe that was 3 hours away from where I live. And there's so many places. So it had me digging on my bucket list, like, what's next? Where else can I drive to? And also on Saturday, it was my first time in forever. I decided I was driving to Mexico City. My son is taking a solo flight to Miami, and I was just like, okay, we're not taking the bus. I'm going to drive, because if I can drive to Querétaro 3 hours, I could do Mexico City 4 hours, no problems. And yeah, everything was fine. But it's that whole thing. And I remember thinking on my way home, like, why have I always been so nervous about driving to any of these places? And just kind of thinking about that again, probably a little deprogramming, where this came from, like where did all, and again, I'm not saying be frivolous and careless. I wouldn't recommend driving at night. And I know we talked about this when I had the men on a few weeks ago, but that would be more because it's just so dark. Like they don't have like the same street lights and highway setup as maybe what we're used to. And sometimes, there could be a cow hanging out. Anyway, I wanted to comment on Danielle said, love that so much. Healing a woman will heal generations. Yes, that was your comment. And we agree wholeheartedly. Abril, I've been blessed. Oh, thank you, Abril. Thank you so much. Looking forward to finally meeting. Abril is my client for a couple years. We've had a couple consultations. So for those who don't know, casaelm.com, I have a work with me consultation where I really work with you one-on-one to help create a blueprint that helps you in your specific journey to move into Mexico if this is your interest. And so I'm finally going to get to meet her. She'll be here. And she was on a few weeks ago as well, talking about her retreat, her winter retreat in January 2024, actually. So I'm excited to finally meet in person. So yes, I appreciate that. K-Bait said her taste of freedom was getting a passport, and her second taste of freedom was getting off the hamster wheel and retiring early. Yes, and now I'm living my life like it's golden in Mexico. Good for you. Yes, we love to hear these stories so much. Stephanie Perry was here. I missed it. Taking things into your own hand does seem so much riskier, but it's really not if you know how to make money apart from a job that's security. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, strategy is everything.
Absolutely. So I wanted, before I get to the other two things, I wanted to say, in regard to that, first of all, thank you so much, Stephanie, for being here. I appreciate you and your comment. I wanted to say that, one of the things that kind of comes up and I hear from people is that, there's sometimes us YouTubers and we're talking about all the glamour and this and that, and then we disappear, whatever. Then this doesn't apply necessarily to me or was necessarily directed at me, but the point I wanted to emphasize is to make a plan. I say that now you have to know who you are, right? There are some people who can just get up, maybe backpack and, just kind of go around and they'll figure it out. Yeah. Sunny's that girl. But then there are others, it's like, we need to know where are we going to be, where are we going to sleep, where's our next thing. No matter what your choices are, know yourself, right? Know that if I go there, I'm not just going to fall flat on my face because I didn't understand myself or I didn't understand the mission in front of me. But as we said, we really do believe that we can all kind of make something happen for us. Sometimes it may take a little longer. Sometimes it might be doing something we didn't think we could do or know how to do or may not want to do. And but like, what, this wasn't so bad. I don't know what that is. I just think you have to consider your choices and options, and you also need to kind of kick back and think it through a little bit, right? You don't have to have a grandmaster plan. If you can be a couch surfer because they do they still have that website, couchsurfing.com? I always thought like, what? I remember meeting someone way back when I lived in Miami, like even well before moving here. And she was like, oh, couch surfing. And I was like, what? Couch surfing? Okay, maybe a youth hostel, but I don't know about that. But it became popular. The point is just to know that this is something you are capable of, and then going with that. If I need a place to live, I need income, I need whatever, then make that plan. Don't just get up and go. There's nothing to just overly glamorize about this. It can be scary, it can be scary. So we all try to have to lean on each other for support in this regard. Yeah. So yes. Yes, Miss K Bates, thank you for the conversation. Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you all. And Danielle, it's so scary, especially for those that are in area corporate. But reality is that being self-reliant is a valuable skill, yes, and builds more security. I mean, I think the whole world learned a lot during the pandemic, right?
Yes, we did.
We learned to prioritize what was important. We learned to maybe even weed out things that were in our lives that weren't necessary, including people. And, it's like, okay, we thought,
slow down.
and slow down. And we all thought, like, is this the end of the world? I know I felt that way at times, like, what's going to happen after this? People are dying, right? What are we doing here? Until, we probably figured some of that out. But the point is, we learned a lot. I remember thinking like, okay, we grew a whole veggie garden on our patio in containers. And, let's like get some chickens from the market. I have food. We learned how to kick into those survival skills. And I think that's across the board,
And be more of a community. I feel like families were spending more time together.
Absolutely.
It was just once we got a chance to slow down, it was like, wow, we got a chance to really enjoy the things we were missing out on.
Absolutely. We got creative, real creative.
Very creative.
Yeah. I was growing stuff and could plant pots. And I was just like, oh, look at this. There's no reason to be hungry. And it just came up in like a couple of months, 1 or 2 months. Things were just coming up. I took a tomato, cut the tomato in half, stuck it in the dirt, and then I had a whole tomato vine, a little cherry tomato. It's like crazy, Pepper, same. Cut the pepper in half, stuck it. I didn't do anything fancy. I didn't dry any seeds or anything. I didn't do anything fancy. I just stuck it in the dirt and things started to come out. And I thought, if I had a piece of land and some chickens and a cat, we would not be hungry. Anyway, so that's all I wanted to add. Do you all want to add anything for the night? Does anyone have any more questions? Here comes my mom.
Any more questions about what we were discussing about healing the womb, healing the heart, deprogramming, reprogramming? Because we do want to continue this conversation with anyone who is interested in experiencing any type of, healing modalities. So let us know.
Yes. Cheryl's commenting on my papaya plant. The one out front. I think I told you about that. I scraped all the seeds out of the papaya and it was in a little pot. Now it's like a tree. Yeah.
You put the papaya seeds in the dirt?
Yeah. All of them. Because, when you cut open the papaya, there's like almost hundreds of seeds. There's a lot of seeds, dozens and dozens probably of seeds. And I just put them all in one of those smaller pots in the dirt. And it started to come up, one of the shoots. And now it's the one out front. When you enter that big, giant papaya, we haven't gotten the fruits yet, but they're coming, I'm sure.
They're coming, yes, they will. Yeah. So should I pop seeds in the soil back here?
Go for it, yes. Stick anything. I think there's even a blackberry bush. There's a lemon tree. There's peach trees. I don't know what's eating off the peach trees, but they're happy because I haven't got one of those peaches yet. But there's 2 peach trees back there as well. But yeah, so I just wanted to, let's see, Cheryl, Sunny, that's why I wanted your seeds. She wanted some seeds from you, Cheryl.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I did give her when she was here.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I remember her talking about that. So yeah, if you have any questions, you want to know more about just some of the healing things. We're going to continue speaking on this, not next week. Is it August the 2nd?
August 2nd. Mm-hmm.
August 2nd at 6 p.m. We're going to have another guest on along with Sunny, and, to talk more about womb healing and things like this. We just kind of want to keep talking about things that I think are not so obvious to us in general because of all the programming, and we wanted to focus on that a little bit more. So if you are interested, please come back and join us on August the 2nd. We're going to probably do a series throughout the month of August about this, and more than likely circle back around to creating a space for us to gather at the end of the year and have something that looks like a retreat around these topics and healing in this regard. So stay tuned. And I thank you for being here. Thank you for explaining and educating, as I said to you before, educating us more about things that I think maybe has always been, kind of like, I don't know about that. I'm not going in that lane, yeah. And that's kind of one of the things that I have tried to focus on in living in Mexico is receiving information and being open to receiving new information and learning about other aspects and things that may be not so normal to me because of my programming and the things that I learned growing up as well. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk more about those things and to continue to educate. Yes, I appreciate it. Absolutely. And then the last thing I wanted to say is next week, I'm going to have additional special guests that are living here in San Miguel. Steph and Ty, they came, they brought their gifts from Detroit. They're so creative. I love them. They have their designers. They opened a shop. They've been here for 6 months and they're on fire. So I wanted to bring them on, and I may bring, maybe some other business owners on to talk about the things that they're doing as well in San Miguel, because I think it's important to just kind of keep showcasing and highlighting, basically highlighting people's talents, because you have talents too, right? And if you want to bring those talents here or somewhere else in the world, please think on it and make it happen, because it's possible. Get inspiration from those around you, people online. We have access to it. So, yeah.
Ashay.
Yeah.
I would like to leave my handle just so people can contact me if they would like to. But also to what you were just saying, there's only one you, and there will never be another you. And you came here with something very special.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all connected. So where your work ends, that's where mine begins, and so on and so forth. And once we can see that complete connectivity, we can see how everything is you. Everything is you. So, and all the work that you do for everyone else in healing and connecting, giving people opportunities, it's like you're still healing parts of yourself as well.
Absolutely.
And you get to see your reflections. Like, I love when I see I saw my girlfriend the other day. I was like, sis, I love when I see you doing you, because that means I'm doing me, because you're my reflection. So when you're doing good, I'm doing good. So I'm just like, yes.
Absolutely. I think all of us, what we can uplift and give back and support, and as I always say, my good and how I view it doesn't mean it interprets clearly all the time, but knowing the intention is in the right place, right?
Yeah.
Everything's not perfect. Everything's not going to be like, oh, well, so-and-so did this way, whatever. Doesn't matter. The intention, what's the intention? What was the intention? Was it done in good faith? Was it done earnestly, right? Was it done to help in some way? And I think that that's always going to be, for me, my focus. And, I sometimes get a little sensitive about things. I was like, okay, but my intention was in the right place, and I think that that's what's most important when we're making these contributions. Yeah.
So if anyone wants to reach me,
Yes.
I can be reached on Instagram at the Entheogenic Yogi. I'm also on Facebook at Suniray Ballard. I can be reached also by email at sunarayyoga@gmail.com. And we're going to continue these conversations about womb healing, about intimate alchemy, cosmic orgasms, all different types of healing modalities that we can tap into to manifest the life that we want. And so I'm looking forward to connecting with everyone in August for the series, and how we can utilize. If anyone has any questions about the plant or the earth medicine, feel free to hit me up or feel free to contact us, because we will continue this discussion.
Absolutely. So you have a website? What's your website? Because I'm going to type it here in the chat.
Oh, I do have one up right now, but I'd rather them contact me on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, Instagram or Facebook would be fine. Instagram is the Entheogenic Yogi, and I can type it in here for you so you can see it.
Okay. I know I have. Well, I'm connected with you on Instagram. Okay. I'm going to put it here. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. This is Instagram, IG. Instagram. Okay. And the other one was chat. It's in the chat, right? Facebook. Okay. Let me see if I can copy all of it at the same time. Yeah. And put it there. Yes. And if you are and happen to be in San Miguel, Sunny is doing yoga yoga and brunch on Saturdays.
Yes. Come through.
Yes. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the style of yoga, like
yeah.
For a few seconds.
So I'm skilled in I'm trained. I've been initiated into Vinyasa Yoga, but also Kundalini Yoga and Kemetic and Egyptian Yoga. So I basically, it allows me to meet you where you are. Like, I don't have to force you to learn a specific type of asanas. Like, I can work with you in your body and then teach you the type of asana that's for you, for your frame, for your body. And so that's what tapping into all these different types of yoga technology has allowed me to do, to work with everyone on an individual level. Because it's not about getting into the pose, it's about utilizing the pose to get into your body. And so that's what Soul Shine Yoga and Brunch series is all about.
Absolutely. And it's amazing, and the food is healthy. You get to do the class. We have all the equipment, so you don't have to do anything, just show up.
With the vibrations and a water bottle.
Exactly. And then you get to socialize after, eat a little bit, something nice and healthy, and just hang out. The classes that you've done, I know, were pretty amazing. So if you're in SMA, join us, right? You can contact Sunny. Even if you're just coming for vacation, it's a great stretch, and it's open to everyone, right?
Yes, it's open to everyone. We had a family sign up last week, and so everyone's welcome.
Absolutely.
And yes, if you're in SMA, definitely contact me, even if it's not about yoga. Just hit me up.
Exactly. So thanks. And Miss K. Bates, she said, my mother used to say a cluttered house is a cluttered mind. Once I just started decluttering, I felt a weight lifted off my shoulder. I think we all do. I've been decluttering for years. I'm still decluttering. I do not like clutter, but I have to say it's just interesting. And then we'll wrap this up. Because I brought back at the beginning of June, I brought like a bunch of things to a local consignment shop. So there are local consignment shops. It's a great place to shop. And it's also a great place to bring your things if there's stuff you don't need. And it required an appointment. So it took like a month for me to get there. And they told me they were looking for jewelry, clothing. You could only bring 20 items. And I was just like, okay, does that 20 items include jewelry? Because I had a lot of jewelry and I'm not I like stuff like this, but I'm not like a fine jewelry person. I brought almost everything over there. I was just like, I brought clothes and, like maybe 18 pieces of clothing, but I brought a lot of jewelry. So they ended up taking like 42 items that I no longer wanted. And what's crazy is they called me like a month after, so July 6th or so. They sent me an email. They're like, you have this much money. And it was like, I was like, oh. And when I was signing off on each of the things, I couldn't even remember what those things were. So decluttering is good. Decluttering is good. I literally was just like, I don't know what this is. I'm like looking at these descriptions. Some of it I knew and some of it I didn't. So I have another month. And I really hope that they continue to sell those items. And so just agreeing with that statement. Anyway, thank you all for coming. If you haven't subscribed and liked, please do so. Go to casaelm.com if you want more information about life in San Miguel, etc. Okay, we are here for you. Yes, and thank you so much, Sunny, for being here and for being a part tonight's discussion. I appreciate your insight and knowledge.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate
it. Absolutely. All right, let me hit this. Bye, everyone. Have a great night. One second. Okay. Katrina. All right. It has a